The office always felt different after dark. Quieter, more honest somehow. I'd stayed late again, reviewing quarterly reports while the cleaning crew's vacuum hummed in the distance. That's when I noticed the discrepancy in the Henderson account. My coffee had long gone cold, but I barely noticed as I clicked through file after file. The numbers didn't add up, they hadn't for months. A pattern emerged, small transfers, carefully spread out, all leading to an offshore account I'd never seen before. My phone buzzed. "Marlo, you're still at work, aren't you?" Her voice carried that familiar mix of concern and amusement. "Dad's wondering why you missed Sunday dinner." Something came up. I minimized the screen as footsteps approached. "Listen, has Callum mentioned anything about the Henderson account?" "Alara, you need to stop trying to micromanage everything. Callum knows what he's doing. Dad trusts him completely." The footsteps stopped at my door. Callum stood there, perfectly pressed suit and practiced smile, despite the late hour. "Working hard or hardly working?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe. "I'll call you back," I told Marlo, ending the call. "Just catching up on some paperwork." He crossed to my desk, picking up a family photo. Dad, Mom, Marlo, and me at last year's Christmas party. "Silas mentioned you've been putting in a lot of overtime lately. You should take better care of yourself, Alara. We wouldn't want you burning out." Something in his tone made my skin crawl. I forced a smile. "Just being thorough." "That's always been your problem, hasn't it?" He set the photo down, slightly askew. "You never know when to let things go." After he left, I sat in the darkness, staring at my screen. The numbers blurred together, but one thing was crystal clear. My brother-in-law was stealing from my family's company. And my father, who'd spent 30 years building this business, had handed him the keys without a second thought. I downloaded the files to my personal drive, my hands shaking. Tomorrow, I'd have to decide whether to confront Callum or take this straight to my father. Either way, nothing would ever be the same. I waited until the monthly board meeting was wrapping up. Dad always lingered afterward, savoring his coffee while reviewing notes. The perfect time to show him what I'd found. Instead, Callum intercepted me in the hallway. "Those files you were looking at the other night?" He guided me toward the break room with a light touch on my elbow. "There's a perfectly reasonable explanation." "I'm sure there is." I pulled away, clutching my laptop closer. "Why don't we discuss it with Dad? Your father's under enough stress." Callum's smile never wavered, but his eyes hardened. "The Henderson merger is delicate. One wrong word could spook investors." "Is that a threat?" "A friendly warning. From family." He poured 2 cups of coffee, sliding one toward me. "You've always been so intense about the business, Alara. But sometimes you see problems where none exist." The break room door opened. Dad walked in, his face brightening at the sight of us. "There's my dream team. Callum, those projections you presented were brilliant." "Actually, Dad, I need to show you something." "Can it wait?" He checked his watch. "Callum and I have a lunch meeting with the Henderson Group. Critical negotiations." Callum's hand settled on my shoulder, squeezing slightly. "Nothing that can't wait, right, Alara?" I watched them leave, the untouched coffee growing cold between my hands. My phone buzzed, a text from Marlo. "Dinner tonight? Need to talk about your weird questions, Callum." Later, in Marlo's studio, I studied her latest painting, a maze of fractured mirrors, each reflecting a different version of the same face. "You've been different lately," she said, washing her brushes. "More paranoid." "I'm trying to protect our family." "By spying on my husband?" She turned, paint-stained hands on her hips. "Callum told me you've been digging into his work. He's worried about you." "Of course he is." The bitterness in my voice surprised us both. "Just promise me you'll drop this." Marlo pleaded. "For me?" I stared at her painting, at all those broken reflections, and wondered which version of the truth she was ready to see. The Henderson merger documents arrived on my desk at noon. Not through official channels. These came from an anonymous email with a note. "Thought you should see this." My hands trembled as I opened the attachments. There it was. Proof that Callum wasn't just stealing, he was selling us out to Vertex Industries, our biggest competitor. The merger was a Trojan horse, designed to strip our company's assets and transfer them piece by piece. My office door clicked open. Mom stood there, elegant as always in her cream suit. Surprise lunch. She held up a paper bag. I brought those sandwiches you love. I closed my laptop too quickly. Mom, don't. She set the bag down, her smile fading. I know that look. You're about to do something that can't be undone. Someone has to stop this. Your father built this company from nothing. She touched the family photo on my desk. After everything with your grandfather, the bankruptcy, the scandal, this company is his redemption. Which is exactly why I can't let Callum destroy it. Marlowe's pregnant. The words hit like a physical blow. I sank into my chair, the documents on my screen suddenly blurring. She was going to announce it at Sunday dinner. Mom's voice softened. Whatever you think you know about Callum, this isn't about what I think. I turned my laptop around, showing her the evidence. It's about what I can prove. She studied the screen, her face aging years and moments. If this gets out, it won't just ruin Callum. The scandal could destroy everything your father's built. Is that what you want? My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Meeting at Vertex Industries tomorrow. Final paperwork ready for signatures. See, I want to protect this family, I said, standing up. Even if it means saving them from themselves. Mom reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Ilara, please. There are things you don't understand. I understand enough. I gathered my files, heading for the door. And now I know exactly what I have to do. I stormed into Dad's office without knocking, the merger documents clutched in my hand. He was on the phone, but his smile vanished when he saw my face. I'll call you back, he said, hanging up. This better be important. Vertex Industries. I slapped the papers on his desk. Callum's been meeting with them for months. He's not merging with Henderson, he's selling us out. Dad didn't even glance at the evidence. Enough, Ilara. This vendetta against Callum has gone too far. Look at the documents. I don't need to. He stood, his voice hardening. Callum secured the Henderson merger when you said it was impossible. He's doubled our profits while you've been chasing shadows. Those profits are fake. He's family. Dad's fist hit the desk. More than that, he's the son I never had. The only one who truly understands what I've built here. The words cut deeper than he knew. And what am I? A daughter who'd rather destroy this company than admit someone else might be better suited to run it. My throat tightened. You really think this is about jealousy? What else could it be? He softened slightly. Look, take some time off. Clear your head. When you come back. I found Grandpa's old files. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. About the bankruptcy. About what really happened. Dad went very still. Those records were sealed. Maybe you're not the only one who knows how to dig up secrets. I met his gaze. History's repeating itself, Dad. And you're too blind to see it. Get out. His voice shook. You're suspended until further notice. I backed toward the door. When this all falls apart, remember, I tried to warn you. Is that a threat? No. I touched the handle. It's a promise. And when it happens, I won't be here to help pick up the pieces. The door clicked shut behind me. Through the glass, I watched him sink into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 60 years. My phone buzzed, another message from the anonymous source. Time's running out. What are you going to do about it? The city looked different from my new apartment's window. Smaller, somehow. 3 weeks had passed since I'd walked out of Dad's office, and the silence from my family was deafening. Except for Mom's daily texts, please come home. We can fix this. My phone rang, an unlisted number. MS. Reynolds. A woman's crisp voice. This is Sarah Chun from the Securities and Exchange Commission. We've received some interesting documentation about Vertex Industries and your family's company. My coffee mug slipped from my fingers, shattering on the floor. I didn't. Someone submitted an anonymous tip. Very detailed. But we need an insider's confirmation. Before I could respond, another call beeped through Marlowe. I switched lines. The police are at the office. Her voice cracked. They're going through everything. Dad's having chest pains. What did you do? I didn't report anything. My hands shook as I tried to sweep up the broken ceramic. But someone did. Fix this. The steel in her voice was new. You started it, now fix it. Dad's in the hospital and Callum's talking about damage control, and I can't lose everything, Elara. Not now. A text flashed on my screen from the anonymous number. Phase 1 complete. Ready for Phase 2. Marlo, listen. But she'd already hung up. My laptop pinged with a news alert. Breaking. Fraud investigation launched at Reynolds Corporation. The article mentioned possible insider trading, embezzlement, and corporate espionage. Dad's photo was front and center. Another text. Meet at the Blue Door. 1 hour. Come alone. See. I stared at my reflection in the window, barely recognizing myself. Was this justice or revenge? The line between the two had blurred somewhere along the way. My phone buzzed again. The SEC. They weren't going away. Neither was the mysterious tipster, or Callum's machinations, or the weight of knowing my father was in a hospital bed, probably believing I'd betrayed him. I grabbed my keys. The Blue Door was across town. Time to find out who was really pulling the strings in this game, and decide once and for all which side I was really on. The Blue Door was exactly the kind of place Callum would choose. Expensive whiskey, dark corners, and enough ambient noise to mask private conversations. I found him at a corner booth, looking remarkably composed for someone under federal investigation. You should try the scotch, he said, sliding a glass toward me. 30-year-old Macallan, Dad's favorite. He's in the hospital because of you. Because of us. Callum's smile never wavered. You really think I didn't know you were the one feeding information to the SEC? I didn't. No. He pulled out his phone, showing me emails I'd never seen. Someone's been very busy using your login credentials, accessing confidential files, sending encrypted messages. Very damaging stuff. My stomach dropped. You set me up. I learned from the best. Your grandfather taught me everything about corporate takeovers before he died, including how to create the perfect scapegoat. The door chimed. Marlo walked in, her face ashen. She slid into the booth beside Callum, not meeting my eyes. Tell her, Callum said softly. Marlo's hands trembled. The board is meeting tomorrow. They're voting to remove Dad as CEO. The evidence. It all points to both of you working together. Father and daughter, conspiring to destroy the company. That's impossible. I have proof. Proof that you accessed those files? Callum interrupted. Proof that you contacted Vertex? Proof that you tried to warn the SEC? Yes, you do. And it all leads back to you and Dad. My phone buzzed. Mom, the doctors say Dad's had another episode. Please come home. Here's the deal. Callum leaned forward. Resign from the board. Sign a confession taking full responsibility. The company survives. Dad keeps his reputation, and Marlo's baby grows up with a father who isn't in prison. You can't expect me to. I'm pregnant, Elara. Marlo finally looked up, tears streaming down her face. Please. Just, please. I stared at my untouched scotch, seeing my reflection fractured in the amber liquid. Everything I'd done to protect my family had somehow led us here, to this moment where saving them meant destroying myself. The hospital corridor stretched endlessly before me. Dad's room was at the end, 307. Through the window, I could see him sleeping, monitors beeping steadily. Mom sat beside him, holding his hand. She looked up as I entered, her eyes widening. The board meeting starts in an hour, I said quietly. Elara, please. She stood, reaching for me. Don't do this. Did you know? The question I'd been afraid to ask. About Grandpa? About what really happened? Her silence was answer enough. Dad stirred, his eyes focusing slowly. You came. Not to sign the confession. I pulled out my phone, showing them the email I'd received an hour ago. Grandpa didn't die of a heart attack, did he? Callum helped him fake his death, hide the money he embezzled. And now he's using the same playbook. To protect this family, Dad started. No. To protect your pride. My voice cracked. You let Callum blackmail you with Grandpa's secret, Just like you're letting him blackmail me now. The door opened. Callum walked in, holding a manila envelope. The confession papers. Ready to sign. Actually, I pulled out my own envelope. I have something else in mind. Callum's smile faltered as I handed copies to everyone. What is this? Grandpa's alive. Living quite well in Argentina, according to these photos. Dated last week. I met Callum's eyes. You should choose your anonymous tipsters more carefully. Some of them might be working for both sides. You're bluffing. The SEC has everything. The real everything. Your offshore accounts, Grandpa's location, the original scheme. I'm done protecting family secrets. Dad's monitor beeped faster. Elara, you'll destroy everything.
No, Dad.
I'm saving us. Sometimes the only way forward is to let everything burn. I turned to Callum. You have 1 hour to resign and confess. Or I release everything. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Marlo?
I'm sorry.
But your baby deserves better than a legacy built on lies. The monitor's steady beeping followed me out, marking the end of one era and the beginning of another. 6 months later, I stood in Marlo's studio, surrounded by her newest collection. Each canvas told our story: fractured families, broken trust, the weight of legacy. The centerpiece showed a woman emerging from shadows, her face both determined and peaceful. It's called Truth, Marlo said, joining me. Her pregnancy was showing now. The gallery wants to feature it next month. Dad's coming to the opening? He's trying. The physical therapy's helping. She touched the painting surface. The company's different now. Smaller, but honest. Mom says he actually sleeps at night. The news alert had come yesterday. Callum, arrested in Singapore. The money trail had led straight to him and Grandpa. No more secrets, no more lies. I got a job offer, I said. Running compliance for a tech startup. Clean slate, fresh start. You could come back, you know. Dad asks about you. I shook my head. Some bridges need to stay burned. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Found this in the attic. Thought you should have it. Attached was a photo of a much younger me, dancing in Dad's office, while he watched with unmistakable pride. He kept that all these years, Marlo said softly. Even after. Everything changes. I touched my sister's shoulder. But not everything breaks. We stood there, studying her painting, the woman emerging stronger from her shadows. Outside, the city hummed with possibility. My phone buzzed again, the startup confirming Monday's start date. You did the right thing, Marlo said suddenly. Even if it hurt, even if we didn't understand at first. I thought about legacy, about the weight of truth versus the comfort of lies. About how sometimes protecting your family means letting them face their own consequences. The baby's kicking. Marlo grabbed my hand, placing it on her belly. She's going to be fierce, like her aunt. She's going to be free, I corrected, to write her own story. Through the studio window, the setting sun painted everything in shades of possibility. Some endings are really beginnings in disguise. I was ready for mine.